Nice boardroom there, buddy.
A clean room. Can't let these guys touch anything.
Right.
Wouldn't want to.
And I'm
Welcome to the Business Over Beer Happy Hour, a daily dose of support for business owners, entrepreneurs, and people passionate about what they do. Hosted by Ben Surratt, Jonathan Kaler, and Jason Knope, it's time to grab a beer, enjoy some cheer, and join together.
We are live. Hello, everybody. It is Monday. It's Monday, and it's 5:30. Which means it's happy hour time, the Business Over Beer Happy Hour, and I am Ben, and I am staring at some three dudes that are good looking, but the one good looking guy I want to talk to right now is Mr. #respect the hair, Mr. Space Cowboy. No. He's not the Space Cowboy. He's the Spotchy. What is it? What is it, Knope?
Sapsy Cowboy.
But we call him Spartacus. Mr. Jonathan Kaler. Hello, Jonathan. Happy Monday.
I tell you guys, I make one little typo on a live Facebook Zoom meeting, and you never let me live it down. But you know what? I could be called a lot worse things than the Sapsy Cowboy. So... Well, it's Monday. We're back at it. A full day of teaching. I'm back in my Monday best plaid. I'm excited to be here to talk about the events industry. We have dipped our toe into doing like small local live events, but I'm excited to hear about big international heavy lifting type live events and the impact that COVID-19 has had on that industry. But speaking of heavy lifting, we have got a guy here that is definitely I'm down with. Ben, are you down with him?
I am totally down with him.
Down with the KNOPP. He is the gangsta of Hazeldale. Jason Knope, welcome to Happy Hour, my friend. How you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm happy to be here. Got three good friends here with me today, so looking to start drinking on my beer here in a minute, too.
Yeah, you're looking a little casual, a little relaxed, just kind of
very casual.
Chilling. You're in the Chaise Lounge there.
Yeah, he's just like
the gangster of Hazeldale, right?
There you go. Now you're playing the part. I like it.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and introduce
our guest? Do we have a guest, Knope?
We have a guest. We have Mr. Steve Richards here with us today, and he's joining us from the Los Angeles region, even though he has a Aussie accent.
How you doing?
How you doing today?
Yeah, good. It's been a long
welcome to Happy Hour. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks very much. It's good to be here. As I was saying, it's been a long week. I can't believe it's only Monday.
Yeah, that's kind of the way. It's kind of the way it is these days. But yeah, that was one of our more clunky openings. So way to go, guys! It's definitely Monday. I think we last night doing it on Sunday that we just blew our whole load for the week probably. So we're just done. And we got nothing left.
We got nothing left. We're done. And I'm spent.
Yeah. So hey, this is Business Over Beer, Steve. We like to start with your business. So appreciate you bearing with us for the first 3 minutes. Hopefully it'll go up from here. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the business that you're in? Talk a little bit about your background and kind of what you're into.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have been doing, I can't really say I'm doing it right now because of COVID-19, but what I have been doing is live and special events. So doing large corporate shows, meetings, international summits, that sort of stuff, as well as, I've done TV shows, corporate experience events, sort of things at South by Southwest and that sort of stuff, as well as having done a lot of music touring sort of over the last 10, 15 years. So working with some fairly large artists and doing a lot of touring around the world, which is a lot of fun. Chose to pivot into the corporate world sort of back in 2013. Still have some music clients, but it's really mostly corporate shows that I've been doing now. Yeah, so that is the current status, or that was what I was doing until about March 15, where the wheels came off.
And so what does that mean? You do these shows, these live corporate shows or these big music shows. So just kind of generally, you know, what is your role in putting those on? Are you the producer? I think I saw that maybe you're the technical director. Kind of just give us a little bit of some broad brushstrokes of what it means to kind of do these shows.
Yeah, absolutely. From my perspective with these corporate and special events, I'm usually technical director or technical producer. So I basically, the way to look at it is anything that plugs into power is my responsibility. So, you know, TV screens, video screens, moving lights, lighting, sound, all of that sort of stuff. The IT infrastructure, everything really that plugs in is under my sort of purview, and I'm responsible for making sure that works. So essentially I take, usually I work with the designers and with the creatives to put together a system that is, or a show that works from a pragmatic standpoint, and then I manage installing it as a live event. So with the music stuff, my specialty was more lighting director, video producer, that sort of thing. So it was more of a you know, creative role. But since I've moved over doing these corporate events, it's been more of a management technical producer role.
Wow.
Gotcha. That's awesome, man.
Cool. We talked a little bit before we started going live about the changes that you've been having to make. But Jonathan, it's Monday, dude. It's happy hour.
You look thirsty.
I am thirsty. So, you know what I got myself at Ben's Bottle Shop? I got straight out of Seattle, Standard Brewing, Damn IPA.
Goddamn indeed.
Got.
That's what I said. Goddamn.
Oh, it's the Ohio accent.
Yeah, it must be. Tell you what. Well, I went with the OG today. I think you guys are gonna like this. It's Monday. I kind of feel like singing, and I really miss Angie's mystery beer. Because in our old format podcast, our original podcast, we always got to drink a mystery beer that your wife provided to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was out shopping yesterday and I ran across the original Angie's mystery beer.
No way.
It is the Caldera.
The toasted coconut.
The toasted coconut chocolate porter. So there you go.
Awesome, man. Canope.
Yes,
What are you drinking for happy hour?
I'm drinking the now OG Pilsner from Ghost Runner Brewing.
And
Isn't that the stale G? I think that's the stale G now, isn't it?
I got it on CO2. It's good.
All right, good.
and Steve, you are currently not drinking,
That is correct.
but are you happy right now?
I am very happy.
Well, you're drinking. What are you drinking?
I'm literally teetotaling. It is a peach tea. Nice afternoon refresher. It's interesting. I enjoy. I'm listening to the descriptions of the beers that you guys give. You know, the dark.
Your mouth is watering.
The lagers. You know, I was a big lager man. Found out that gluten wasn't my friend. So I took an adventure through gluten-free beers, which was an interesting adventure. And some good ones, some not good ones. But yeah, I mean, I certainly, my period of not drinking will probably come to an end at some point in the not too distant future. Unfortunately, beer's not going to really be on the menu, but it will be probably a nice red wine or some sort of single malt that'll get my attention once this time passes.
Nothing wrong with that. Well,
Nothing.
Hey, happy hour, everyone. Prost. Well, quick shout out to everybody watching. Tracy Grant, T Money's in the house. Of course, BC1, Elizabeth Bergen, thanks for joining as usual. My good friend George LaRue, who's a college friend of mine. He does a show called In Bed with George that you can see me on tomorrow, but we'll talk about that later. George, thanks for joining. My good friend Grace Michelle Robb out of she's down in Dallas, Texas, is joining us, and Rob Davenport Thank you guys for joining us. Anybody else who's on, give us a wave. Let us know what you're drinking, what's making you happy today. And if you have any questions for Steve, any questions for us, any comments, please shout them out on the chat. And we'll
if you want to answer the riddle of the day to win yourself.
We have a riddle today, Ben?
We do have a riddle. And as you know, I miss sports. So all this week, it's going to be sports-related riddles. All right? So the riddle of today. We are 5 little items of an everyday sort. You'll find us all on a tennis court. Don't answer. Lower your hand. Kaylor, lower your hand. You cannot answer. No. Lower your hand. It's for our people.
Beer.
You're close.
Actually, five beers, because it does say 5 little items. 5 beers, because it was a 6-pack, but I drank one. And now there's 5 left.
That's awesome.
Where's my gift card? No.
I'll mail it to you.
Perfect.
So what has been the biggest change, Steve? I mean, besides not working, obviously, but are you learning new things? Are you experiencing what's keeping you busy right now, basically?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest change for me is the no real work and the no travel. The no travel, I used to travel all the time. I already made 3 or 4 trips this year to New York. I was right in New York when it hit the fan around the 10th, which was interesting. That's the biggest change for me. It's the longest I've ever been home since I moved to the States in 2004. From a business standpoint, we're actually working very hard at innovating in the tech space. So, which we have something coming out, a colleague of mine, we've been working on with a few other people actually, to revolutionize the way people look at live events from a virtual standpoint, which is something that we're hoping to bring to market actually very soon by the end of the week, which will hopefully allow us to generate some revenue and be able to help people tell a story, help businesses, help brands tell their story in a very interesting and unique way. So that's, it's all you can do is try and innovate, and hopefully we have landed on something that will be useful to that.
What are some innovations that some technological innovations that you're coming up with and brainstorming right now? It's combining a number of technologies that already existed that haven't really been put together from a live presentation standpoint. Interesting.
So, in the same way as you can add a background to a Zoom, we can do something similar for a presentation, but on a much larger professional scale. So it's sort of riffing on that. We're still finalizing everything. It's something, happy to come back and talk about once we have it all out. Because it will hopefully make a pretty good impact once we have it going. But yeah, it's really taking a whole bunch of different technologies, working with some very smart people from all over North America to be able to put this together and kind of combine all of our efforts and our skill sets into a different package to then be useful for other people. So it should be interesting. We've had some good traction. We've quietly talked to a couple of people about it, and there's a lot of interest. So we're hoping that it will be effective.
What about holograms?
Holograms are possible. I don't know if any of you guys are gamers or have headsets, Oculus headsets at all. There's the opportunity to do something like what they do in the Oculus world.
Explain that for people like.
For me, for example.
So you have, and I'm very new to this. I only got my first VR headset last year. There's some people that are heavily into this, obviously with gaming, but you have a room. So you put on your headset and you start your life in the virtual world in your living room, which they create, and then you can configure and move furniture around, and you can change backgrounds and all sorts of things. And everyone that's in this environment has their own living room. And so if your friends are on Oculus, you can go to their living rooms and hang out, or they can come to your living rooms and hang out. And so you actually create this avatar, which is the appearance of yourself but it's a real-time conversation. So a buddy and colleague of mine is very, very heavily into this, and he got me all set up with everything. So, you know, I'll go over to his house, and he's created a couple of other environments, and we're sitting there having a conversation like we were next to each other in the room, but we're at home. So it's really cool. And
what was it like? What was it like?
It's very surreal. It's like having a real conversation with someone. You know, and you can navigate around their space. Obviously, you're fixed. You kind of float around. You can move yourself around in this environment. And, you know, I haven't got into gaming. I'm not a gamer. I assume that that's sort of similar to what the gaming environment is. But it was really cool to have that connection with someone. And we've actually got a couple of other friends now that have a similar setup, and we're actually hanging out in this virtual world, talking to each other's avatars. It's totally cool. And it was one of those things. It was sort of 2-3 weeks after this whole lockdown happened, you know, really, really stressed, really realizing that the wheels had come totally off our industry and that there was no potential income and very, very high stress levels. Everyone was really stressed. And to be able to do this, it was probably one of the coolest things I felt like I've done in a very long time. And, you know, to have that connection with someone, even though it's completely ethereal, you know, and it's an avatar you're talking to, but you're hearing your friend's voice, you're hearing, you know, you're interacting with them, you're having a live conversation. It was fantastic. It really was quite cool.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by this. So how,
Me too.
So, I mean, like, who designs sort of the room? I mean, do you do it using pictures? I mean, is it more of a cartoon or a video game type setup, or is it more realistic than that? Like, how does that design part of it work?
You start with a base room. I haven't got well into it. My friend has got seriously into it. He's created whole worlds. I guess you can import a model in 3D and configure it completely from scratch. With the base living room that you get I think there's a living room, there's a home theater where you can stream videos to, so you can sit there with your friends and you can all watch the same video that's coming from one of the computers that's hooked into this system. And I think there's a couple of other environments as well, but you get sort of a basic living room look, and then you can go and move the coffee tables, add coffee tables, furniture. They've got crossbows that you can pick up and fire. You can shoot at targets with a gun.
Duh. I mean,
yeah, there's a whole, you know, there's lightsabers, so you could sit there sort of wandering at each other with a lightsaber, which is, you know, it is what it is, but it's the very base model, and that's all I have. You know, I've configured it a little bit, but my understanding is that people have taken this very seriously and have created their whole world completely independently, brought in models, brought in their own furniture. I guess you can buy things to put in these worlds.
I mean,
cool.
are you your own avatar, or can you like be anybody?
You are your own avatar. So you go to a mirror. I don't have it on this machine. I've got it on another machine. But you go to a mirror and you create an avatar of yourself. So you select clothing. It's sort of an upper half of the body. So you select clothing, hairstyle, you know, facial hair, look, feel. There's more realistic ones. There's completely ethereal ones. You can be cruising around as a unicorn. You can be, you know, whatever you want.
Can I give myself facial hair? Because I can't do it in real life.
Yeah, you can do, you know.
I want to be Canope. I want to be.
different-
My avatar is going to be Canope.
Peter, you can still run around as a unicorn, though. I mean, that comes
That'd
naturally.
be all right.
Right.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with that. That'd be great.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I mean, it's interesting that, and we're looking at those sorts of technologies to be able to do events as well. And how does that look? I know of some companies that are pushing that envelope really hard to be able to do something in that environment to kind of create these virtual events. But the reality of it is that there's not too many people out there with, you know, with an Oculus or whatever VR headset. You know, it's really a specialist thing to have. So,
Yeah, that was going to be my question: is how accessible is that to the general public, to the average non-technologically advanced, you know, person?
yeah, I mean, you've got to, it's like, you know, I had to buy a specialist. That the reason why I got this rig was actually from a presentation tool from doing events. So we have the ability with one of the software packages that we use with Disguise. It's called that you can view your world, your events, with the video screens working and content on them in VR ahead of time. So what we did, I put together the package with the laptop and the headset, and we actually went to the client's offices, put the VR headsets on them, and allowed them to see their space as it was going to appear, with the videos rendered correctly, playing back correctly, so they could get a sense of what the videos were going to look like. And I had that as a system, had it sitting in the corner. And then, you know, I was talking to my friend one day, he said, you know, basically get your headset out, get it all fired up, download this software, off we go. And that's sort of how I got introduced to that world.
That's wild. That's very
and
cool.
Honestly, I'm being very careful to not get sucked in, because I'm sure I'd suddenly be buying, you know, getting into Fortnite and all these other games and not actually concentrating on work. I'd be off doing that. So I'm consciously avoiding that, I think.
That would be the scare, for real. That would be like you just get caught up in it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's for sure a slippery slope.
Business. Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, in the event world, esports is becoming a huge business, and it is one of the few businesses that can actually function right now. So they're starting to get esports back up and running, and they're starting to actually have that. And it could well become, you know, we were talking beforehand about sporting events coming back. The esports things could actually become a serious deal. I know I've got a bunch of friends, for instance, I guess the F1 drivers are driving an F1 racing game every weekend from all around the world.
Right, yeah.
And that's actually,
I have seen that.
They're talking about trying to do sportsbook on it and trying to actually to turn it into a thing.
Wow.
Be curious if there's a Madden league that starts up for the NFL.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's a crazy time, and we'll be curious to see if these sorts of innovations actually make it into a mainstream viewing, not necessarily participating in, because the virtual reality thing is, you know, it's a specialist thing. But we'll be curious to see if people actually start doing this and then broadcasting that for the masses to see as a stream over YouTube or whatever.
I mean, you guys think about this. You could go to like any concert you wanted to, at any event, any place, any coliseum, and see your favorite band.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what we're talking about right now.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're pushing that way with the group that I'm working with, is how can we do that? You know, how can we bring people in remotely? There's something that's going to be on TV in a couple of weeks, which is really cool. That is going to be sort of a worldwide premiere of this new mixed technology. And it's amazing that they're doing it. And I think it's going to really, really change the industry and change how people look at doing events for the better for us, because it will allow us to have revenue, because right now there is none.
Yeah. So talk about that. It's a good segue. So you had sent us a little infographic with some stats on the impact to the event industry, and I think that was just a snapshot. I don't think that was all inclusive. So maybe share with us, you know, some of the actual stats that are on that infographic, so people can truly appreciate the magnitude of what's happening in the events industry. And then, I mean, let's talk about, all the different types of events, right? Because, events is very broad.
Yep.
But when you really start to think about what live events actually encompasses, it starts to get a little mind-blowing how enormous this industry is and how much we all take part in live events, probably just even subconsciously not realizing that it's part of this broader industry. So maybe just kind of share that. That was pretty heavy duty question. So
yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. You can look at an event, you know, from a marketing company standpoint that does events, anything from the people you see walking around with a backpack of Red Bull, giving away free Red Bulls, right up to a stadium concert or a, you know, several 100,000 person music festival, is really all considered an event. You know, the event marketing side of things, they do, you know, people go to bars to do specials for whatever liquor or whatever. That's all managed by an event company. That's all stopped. Right through, obviously, to these big music festivals. So the graphic I sent you guys through just referred to exhibit events or exhibition events. So trade shows that happen at venues, at sort of like Las Vegas Convention Center, et cetera, et cetera. And these numbers are just America. So this is not a global thing. This is just America, just exhibits. The total impact is 1.9 million jobs lost and $118 billion in direct business spending, with a total impact of 286 billion. And that's just exhibits. That's not live music. That's not corporate shows. That's not internal B2B company shows. That's nothing other than just trade shows. So there's a group of people, an industry alliance that's currently campaigning in Washington. And I think they're asking for $800 billion, I think is the estimate of the total impact to the event industry. Because you add on top of that television, you add on top of that movies, you add on top of that every other piece of media. You know, you had a guy on a few days ago, Chris, he was talking about, you know, bloggers and that sort of stuff. Even those guys, they can't get out and they can't get together to produce content because they're not allowed. So it is millions and millions of people. And unfortunately, a lot of them being self-employed, they slip through the cracks of all of the benefits that are available. So, you know, it's really tough for the industry. And it's, you know, even there's talk, you know, social distancing starting to lift up in some states. They're talking about lifting social distancing in various different layers. There isn't going to be any events anytime soon. I mean, there's not going to be, you know, bar events. There's not going to be music events. It will be interesting to see when clubs, when they say 250 or more, you watch all these massive international artists suddenly become club artists again because they're going to be desperate for revenue.
That sounds good to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bad for them, but good for me if you can get a ticket.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at I think it was Madonna did a club tour last year or a small theater tour, and the high value of the tickets was just extraordinary. You know, maybe it's a moneymaker, but you get back to, okay, social distancing, a tour bus, you've got 12 people slammed into a 40-foot long bus. That's not social distancing. So
yeah.
How do you restart that sort of scenario as well? So it's, you know, it really is. I mean, I don't think any conventions are going to happen anytime soon. You know, they talk about herd immunity. That's a long way off, whether it be a vaccine or, you know, everyone catching it. It's a shame. There's not really, for people that 100% rely on the event business, it's really, really tough times.
I mean, you were saying in California that they have canceled all events through the end of the calendar year. Is that right?
Yeah, here in LA, the mayor said that he doesn't see. It's not an exact statement. It's not a definitely canceled events, but he said that he doesn't see any chance of there being any events until 2021.
Jeez.
So, you know, you look at the sporting teams that are here in LA. And the new Chargers Stadium that was supposed to open up in July. You know, that's no Dodgers, that's no, you know, no NHL, no NFL, no MLB. I think similar. I think New York said something similar. So it's, you know, that's an industry right there. When you think of concession sales and all that sort of stuff, the support people just for those stadiums, that's thousands of jobs.
There's a cascading effect all the way down.
Totally. You know, food service, deliveries, there's so many different things that you can think about the people that are directly and or indirectly impacted. And, you know, we're talking sportsbook, that whole scenario.
Yeah.
There's billions of money, I would assume, that's owed or otherwise in Vegas right now for bets that aren't going to be processed because the sporting teams aren't playing.
What do you see after this is all said and done? I mean, is your industry going to be normal again to where it was before, or is it going to be? Do you see progress from all this?
I think I mean, we had the flu pandemic in 2009. I was on a pretty substantial stadium tour, and I think it was 3.6 million people in America caught it, and there was 20,000 people died. I don't remember stopping for that. I mean, we just kept on touring. And I don't remember there being a blip at all, honestly. I know that there were some people that had issues coming out of the GFC. I was really, really lucky. I got onto a tour in September 2008 that carried me all the way through to June 2010. So I didn't feel the impact of the GFC nor the impact of this virus. So, and we just continued on. There was no change. For whatever reason, this is very different. This is a different scenario that we have this full stop where everything stopped.
Sorry, what is GOC?
The global financial crisis.
Oh, got it.
I guess 2008. So,
yep. All right, gotcha.
You know, it affected the events industry, the corporate event industry, but it didn't. It actually seemed that alcohol and music was one thing that survived the global financial crisis. You know, the shares in all the beer companies and all the liquor companies went up, and the entertainment stocks went up. Everything else obviously cratered. But
well, for all the sponsors who want a beer-related podcasts, we're open for business.
There you go.
Hey, Steve, is it okay if I put that graphic up behind me that you sent over?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. To answer your question, though, I think that the industry will come back. It's, you know, vaccine or otherwise, everyone's going to want to gather. There's been so many different focus groups in the marketing and agency industry, and different conversations within the music industry of people that are concerned about, oh, it's never going to be the same. I think everyone's going to crave getting back together. You're going to crave that need to, you know, to go out and see a show, whether people will have money to pay for it and whether there's going to be an oversaturation of events and not able to have people spend the money and finance all of that. That's an interesting question. But I think people are really going to want to get back together, and, you know, it's the corporations as well. Hopefully it'll keep events going. It's funny, you know, the meme that went around a few months ago was, you know, this conference call could have been an email. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was very grumpy because she got up for a very early video chat with a client, and she got, you know, did her hair and makeup, got all dressed up, wanted to make a good impression on the client. And then the client phoned in, and, you know, she said this video conference could have been a phone call or could have been an email. It's sort of the new normal, right? So, but I think that'll happen. You know, I don't see myself traveling as much anymore for work, but I think that it will, you know, just as everyone recovered from the global financial crisis and taking money away from the event business, I think that we'll recover just because people are going to want to get together.
Mm.
Now, the question is, the financial side, will people afford to go to concerts and special events? Will you pick and choose, excuse me, if every artist goes out at the same time, which is what's likely to happen, you're going to have to pick and choose which artist you're really going to want to go and see, because you're not going to have thousands of dollars of disposable income to go and see all your favorite bands at once. So,
yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, the level of competition amongst all those artists and those events, it's going to wreak havoc on the pricing structure, I would think.
Yeah. I mean,
combined with the recession that's coming, it's going to be a massive reset period, trying to kind of figure out what's going to happen in the markets, and that'll be really interesting. I hadn't thought about that angle.
Yeah, and it's, you know, tours are planned out so far ahead based on genre, artist style, regions they go to. I mean, the local, just between here and Oregon, you know, there's 3 or 4 different, there's obviously the big promoters, but there's 3 or 4 different well-known next level down promoters, and they all have area barriers around them where people can't tour. You can't go, you know, Portland, you know, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, LA. You have to go away and come back. So, you know, the routing is going to be different, and these routings are considering for the bigger artists, it's world tours. And so, you know, how do you route 2 bands of the same genre? That has to be a conversation because of exclusivity, was the word I was looking for before, about being able to do shows in different regions. You know, what's the blackout dates? Which artist is going to tour where? Which promoter is promoting what artist? Do they see another artist as a high dollar value, so they're going to promote one artist more over the other? It's
man, and I was kidding. I mean, I was, you know, in jest about the sponsor thing, but sponsors too. Who are they going to sponsor?
Yep.
And are the smaller venues going to start getting more of those sponsorships because of the social distancing, or the people who are just in fear of being in larger places? Oh, man, holy cow, that's a rabbit hole I never thought we'd be going down.
Yep.
on this show right now.
It gets interesting quickly when you think about the impact. And, you know, as I was saying earlier, you'll get these smaller venues that are allowed to open before the larger venues, and people are just going to want to go out and play, right? Artists are going to want to play. They're going to get out there. And so your stadium artists, and then what does that do to the market? It's going to immediately saturate it. You can't afford, you know, the $275, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 artists that play arenas and stadiums aren't going to be able to necessarily sell that. Although Madonna was an exception to that.
Man,
what are the ticket sales? What does that mean to profits? Who's sponsoring? Where's the money going? Do people want to go to get jammed into a theater to see a show because they're worried about their safety?
Wow.
Yeah. And on and on.
Does your industry have any sort of like support infrastructure in place for people who work within your, you know, the event or production, entertainment industry? Is there anything for you guys, or is it pretty much you just kind of just like everybody else?
There's a lot of industry-based support groups. I actually helped found a company, or not a company, a not-for-profit last year to provide mental health support for touring people called Tour Support, which has obviously had a lot of traction in the last couple of months, people, you know, losing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. It's certainly, people refer to the, you know, music industry as the biggest cottage industry in the world, because it sort of flies under the radar of most people's thinking about, you know, the impact and how many people are actually involved. So it's, you know, there's not necessarily that much federal funding that covers the entertainment industry and support networks. There's not really a mainstream thought, you know, the sort of, you go to the bar and you say a roadie, and then someone asks you, so what do you really do, or what's your full-time job? You know, it's probably get shocked when they find out how much some of the guys actually make that are, you know, been working with the same artist for a very long period of time. But it is a challenge. And again, you know, there's the group, as I said, that are sort of lobbying Washington right now to get some sort of funding and some sort of support to the entertainment industry and the gig economy, because we are the original gig economy. And that's, you know, people work potentially paycheck to paycheck, but they certainly work gig to gig, and it's not necessarily something that is supported on a national level.
Yeah.
I can see, I mean, we have the old saying, work hard, play hard. Now it's going to be more of like work hard, play smart.
Yep.
Fiscally, you know, I mean, and really being picky and choosy. That's what I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah.
After this is all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I think how businesses function is going to be fundamentally different. And I'm sure you've covered this with other people you've had on, but seeing how quickly companies have had to lay staff off, you know, is that because they pushed their CapEx too far? No one plans for a pandemic, but what do? You know, companies that only had a couple of weeks of money left to pay their staff, and some massive corporations that had to very quickly wind down. You know, what is the new normal? Do you have, you know, as an individual, you'd put more money away in savings, right? That's certainly a decision that I'd make. As a company, do you put more money away to cover payroll because you're not necessarily certain that you're going to have support from anywhere else to cover that payroll to keep your staff employed? So, you know, to that point, I think that people having disposable income to go and spend on events and other things is definitely going to be reduced. They're definitely going to think about, you know, obviously no one has to buy toilet paper for any period of time, but, you know, they're going to think about, where am I going to spend my money? You know, is it more, do I spend it on groceries and have savings rather than spend it on some groceries, blow my money, and then round two of the second wave that seems to be the big conversation piece, does that come in and then suddenly we're all locked down again and suddenly I've lost my job again? What happens, you know? So it's, and yeah, taken down a big rabbit hole, but it's
That's all around.
I've been in this position where I've been asked to help out putting together some thoughts behind this sort of stuff for marketing agencies and other groups, which is why I sort of have all these thoughts about it, because we've been talking through this sort of stuff now for a few weeks. So you kind of, the what if scenarios have built up in my mind, unfortunately. So
Oh, I bet.
it's you know, how do you plan for a pandemic? No one did, you know,
Nope.
at any level.
No. Man.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, last call for the daily riddle. Ben, you want to read it for the group one more time? We don't have any right answers yet.
We are 5 little items of an everyday sort. You'll find us all on a tennis court.
Well, he underlined it and emphasized it, so there you go. So whoever knows the answer, get it in.
If you're a Batman fan, it should be pretty quick. But I don't see many Batman fans out
Yeah,
there.
doesn't look like a lot of Batman fans out there. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was really insightful to hear about the event industry. I mean, again, this is something that impacts all of us as event goers, but I think we forget about how big this is from an employment standpoint, and the impact to so many people from those concessionaires, from those support people, all the way to the gig economy and people who are the contractors helping to put on all of those events. So being able to shed some light on that was really awesome. So thanks so much for taking the time. If people want to find out more about you and your business, where would you like people to go?
Well, we have a new website coming up here that I'll be able to share with you guys in the next couple of days. So it was something I was hoping to have done today, but we've fallen victim to circumstance with a couple of different IT provider issues. So it's something I'll be able to get to you guys here in the next few days, and we'll be able to share it out.
Awesome. Well, we'll as always, we have the show notes and a blog post that accompanies this. We'll look to get that published next Monday. And of course, as soon as Steve gets us the information on that, we will get it up there and look for links to all of the things that we talked about in tonight's episode.
Yeah, awesome. Canope.
Yes.
If people want to find out about business over beer, where do they go?
They go to bizoverbeer.com, bizoverbeer.com, and we've got all of our social media handles there. We've got an area where you can watch some of the podcasts that are also linked on YouTube. You can listen to our audio podcasts there, where you can also find all the different areas that we provide the podcasts on as well. So if you want to hear a little bit or see a little bit about the host, you can see some information about us as well.
And you can find out about our Biz Over Beer challenge.
Okay, that's right. Challenge.
Yeah. So, Canope, what was your challenge?
My challenge out to everyone was shotgunning a beer.
Oh.
And, yeah. It'd been a long time.
And what if they didn't want to do that? What could they do?
If they didn't want to do that, they could choose to go out and purchase a gift card for a local small business and post a video showing the gift card and tag Business Over Beer as well as the hashtag Biz Over Beer Challenge. And that way we can see who they've purchased it from, and if you're in their area as well, you could go out and support that business as well.
Boom. So it was my turn to do the challenge, and I chose to toast, since I miss sports, man. And Steve knows we talked about it a lot today, before and during the show. I miss sports. So my challenge is to fellow sports fans, just cheers each other and toast positive.
That's right. Don't toast a Steelers fan and call them jerks.
Yeah,
okay?
toast positive. Toast
as much
positive.
as you may want to.
Even if they're a Cardinals fan.
Oh, they're the worst. I don't know if I could even do that. How do you toast positive a Cardinals fan, Ben?
You do it when you drink about that much beer.
Okay.
Toast.
There you go. When you're in the, man, I love you, man. When you're in that level,
exactly.
Then you can toast Cardinals fans. Got it.
Awesome.
Check.
Boom. So do that. Steve, thank you, man. You were just absolutely full of information that I like Kaylor said, the rabbit hole. We could have been down there forever, but we got to have you back. And good luck with everything. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Kaler, Canope, viewers, listeners, thank you so much. We will see you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Business Over Beer reminds you to always drink responsibly. Our theme song is Alley Cat by Soul Shifters. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the next Business Over Beer Happy Hour.
You're like totally getting serious with Steve, and I just like I looked down.
That's
Yellow
my wife, Steve, by the way.
balls.
I opened the show with a blow your load comment, and my wife closes the show with yellow balls.
Oh.
Amazing.